Welcome to episode 10 of the late night podcast of Monsters of Geek. Thank you guys for if you're on the stream, which you're probably not. Thank you for our imaginary audience. I am your EIC Aaron. I've got Mr. Andrew Foltz here today. I've got our resident Yeti Joe Collier. Of course, our world champion Mr. Jared Collins is here today. Guys, what have you guys been up to this week? We had a pretty good podcast last week. A lot of stuff's happened in sports. So if you're kind of a non-sports heavy, we're going to talk about some geek stuff starting off, and then we'll finish up with some sports. So feel free to jump off if you're not a sports fan, but we'll talk about that. Andrew, how many times have you died in Dark Souls 3? What have you broken, and how much did it cost?
Um, how many times have I died? I only died, I want to say twice to the first boss, which was pretty good, I thought. And then
Can
I
you hear me,
died.
Andrew?
Check, check, check. Can you guys hear me? No? You could hear me before, but what
There we go.
happened?
I can hear you now.
Okay. I'll start over. Haven't broken anything. I beat the first boss uh, with only dying twice, I think, which was pretty good for someone who had never played Dark Souls before, I thought. But then I turned around and died 5, 6 times to just some random enemy in the overworld. So that's how Dark Souls is treating me. Um, I'm getting more comfortable. I still don't know, like I still can only stand to play about an hour at a time before I have to just walk away, let it go. I was actually trying to play remote play shortly before we started recording, and the connection dropped as soon as I engaged an enemy, and so I really just had to put it down and walk away again. So I played Rocket League again instead, and that's never not fun, even when you suck, which I did today. So
Are you doing any tournaments with the team? I know I mean, they're going to start announcing. Obviously, this is, when they first brought it out, they was going to start doing maybe some, professional gaming stuff out of, or try to turn it into one of the professional gaming sports that you can do. Are you guys playing in any tournaments? Have they announced any tournaments yet? Or
I mostly play by myself. I played with a couple friends for the first time in forever this week, and we did pretty well. Especially considering one of them hadn't played in several months. But I've played some ranked. They just have ranked matches, ranked online matches, and you can do that solo, which I'm not even going to venture into because the people on there are just stupid good, and I'm not even. So you do 1v1, 2v2, and then 3v3 solo, which is what I do. So you're playing against 5 or 3 other people who are not on a team, just like you're not on a team. That's what I've done until I get frustrated, and then I just go to standard 3v3, which isn't ranked, and have my fun there.
they go. Me and Joe played. We usually played on teams, and that's probably why we lost because
If you were playing
no,
ranked, you probably did
we
lose.
don't communicate very well. We're playing on the same team. So,
Yeah.
all right, Joe. Of course. So, what have you been up to, man? As far as geeky stuff, have you watched anything new or?
Mm, I've been catching up on Banshee,
What's Banshee?
the Cinemax show. Been out for a couple years now. The last season just started, I think, 3 weeks ago. I hadn't really got to start watching it, and I almost caught up. I'm like one episode away from catching up.
What's that show about? Can you give us like a little quick synopsis of it?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to. Well, okay.
Well, don't spoil it.
Um,
Give us a synopsis. The back of the book thing.
so pretty much, this guy is like a big time thief, and he works for like this like mob boss. Falls in love with the mob boss's daughter. Um, Mob boss sends him into something that's impossible to do. He gets caught, gets arrested, comes out, finds the mob boss's daughter again, and then he becomes sheriff of this town. And like everything just goes to heck. It's Banshee, Pennsylvania, pretty much.
Okay.
Is the name of the town, and everything just kind of goes to heck. It's a Cinemax show, so lots of violence. Um, That's a Cinemax show.
Oh, you gotta say it's just a Cinemax show, so
Yeah.
it's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, the storyline is really good. I mean, I didn't want to kind of spoil anything just in case somebody wanted to start watching it, but it is a good show.
All right, Jared. What have you been up to this week? What have you been what kind of geek culture have you been consuming? Let's say.
Slowly rewatching the original X Files. Um, I've been doing it for about 6 months or so now, but almost through season two. So just watch episode here or there. I think I got in 3 episodes on Saturday. So I've been enjoying that.
Did you finish up He-Man?
Yeah, I finished that up a while back. Really enjoyed that.
I know we talked about it last week, but I didn't know if you finished all of it or not.
Oh yeah, I'd already made it through all of it, and then with the DVDs, they had the 40th episode that they didn't make. They had the comic for it, so I think that may be better than the original incarnation of it, just because the continuity was there. The characters were a little more not as goofy. Not that I don't love the original Filmation characters, but there was stuff that you could consider. They kind of killed off characters without actually killing them off, freezing them or turning them to stone. I mean, they always find some way to bring them back, but it was different.
Very cool, very cool. I have me and Joe actually did some hunting around a little bit. We went to the flea market this weekend. Really came up Joe got some cool stuff, but kind of came up empty as far as the flea markets. But we did go to a couple game shops. We went to one in Bristol called Pop Culture, which we really liked, which was like a vintage game store, and then you had like anime and toys and stuff like that we both dug. And then we also went to one of our friends we met at the Bluff City, which is in Bristol, Tennessee. Joe, is Bluff City, Bristol? I'm sorry, no, Virginia side. I'm sorry, Virginia side.
No, it's Tennessee side, dude.
Is it Tennessee side? Okay. I always get mixed up what side it's on. But Bristol, Tennessee is a big flea market over there. We met them years ago. That's the people I've got my Joe and Mac 2, which is a pretty rare Super Nintendo game that I got. And we just became friends. And their store is called Two Dudes Gaming. Really, really smart guys, knows a lot about games. We went by there and got some stuff as well. So just hunting around, trying to, get some stuff I've been looking for.
Well, no, their store's in Elizabethton.
Yeah, their store's in Elizabeth, and they actually they do the flea market on I guess Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I think they're closed on Sundays. And then they do the store Monday through Sunday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
So
No.
you guys went to Bristol on race weekend?
Well, it was Saturday. It was the Bush.
Still. I don't like going to Kingsport during the week leading up to.
To be quite honest, I mean, traffic-wise, for people that maybe listen, don't know where we're located at. We're we're all in the Wise County area. Well, Joe's about 45 minutes outside of Wise County, but all in the same Southwest Virginia. If you're not familiar with the race we're talking about, it's the big Bristol NASCAR race, and this place gets kind of nuts. We're about an hour and 15 minutes away from Bristol, somewhere around that nature. And even like our traffic in Wise gets a little bit crazy because people's traveling there to go to the race. They have a bush race, which is kind of like the minor league race, and then they have the big race. Actually, traffic, and Joe, you drove, but traffic really wasn't that bad on Saturday.
No, it's been a lot worse since when I went over there during race weekend, so it wasn't really bad.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. So we just kind of went all over the place. And Andrew, we did think about that before we went to Elizabeth and kind of hunted around. But we took the plunge, and luckily, like I said, it wasn't too bad. But that place can get pretty crazy. I figured on Saturday everybody's kind of warming up as far as the alcoholic beverages. For the big race, so I would say that everybody was kind of chilling out before the big race, but it wasn't too bad. And we called it when the race first started, which was good because everybody's actually there. So,
Cool. Well, you're braver than me. I wouldn't even tried it.
So that's what me and Joe did this weekend. Found the two coolest things I found was Battle Maniacs, which is basically the follow-up to Battletoads for the Super Nintendo. And then I got this big 25th anniversary Mega Man book, which covers the NES stuff, the Japan stuff, and then all the way through the X series. It covers everything from the American releases all the way up to the X releases and all the Japan stuff. So really cool. It kind of comes with like character drawings, and then Inafune or Inafune, I should say, actually does a little little write ups next to characters, what his inspiration was and stuff. So it was a big old book. I actually had some stuff to trade in, so I ended up getting that for next to nothing. But really cool book. But go check out those two shops, Two Dudes Gaming and Pop Culture. So Joe's dog loves both of those shops. But yeah, so other than that, that's about it. I haven't really done too much. I worked 8 straight days, so it was didn't have much time to sit down and kind of chill out. But yeah, so that's it. Anybody else got anything they want to talk about right off the bat there? Or?
Onward.
Right, onward we go.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You didn't like the basketball players on the window, apparently.
Well, I mean, I told Jared the other day, I said Bill Simmons conducted an interview with Keith Olbermann with his dog literally barking the whole time. So, we're okay. We're okay. We're fine. So let's look at some of the releases coming out. Not much in movies. We've got the Huntsman Winter's War, which is PG-13 and released by Universal. Pretty good cast. You got Chris Hemsworth, Charlize Theron, Emily Blunt, Jessica Chastain, and Nick Frost. Which name doesn't fit in that? I love Nick Frost, but I'm not used to seeing him in such a kind of a glitzy movie there. But he's probably the best part because Nick Frost is.
Wasn't he in the first one?
I don't know. Wasn't Kristen Stewart in the first one? Or was that?
No, that's the same one. The first one was actually an alright movie. Maybe not the best movie in the world, but I mean it was decent for what it was.
So that'll be released on Friday. So go check that out if you've seen the first one. Decent releases for video games this week. We have Axiom Verge come out for the Vita, which was a game that's very Metroidvania as far as kind of old school, kind of retro look to it. That's going to be released on the Vita. It was released on PS4. Cool thing. If you bought it for the PS4, you get it free for the Vita. So it's a cross play, which is pretty cool. You've got Gears of War 4, the multiplayer beta coming out this week as well. So for you Xbox One owners, keep a hold of that. And then the big one this week, which I'm kind of disappointed with some of the reviews that's coming out on it, but Star Fox Zero for the Wii U. That's the big one coming out this week. The Wii U, one of the before the NX comes out, before the NX is announced, which is what I say we're probably a couple, maybe E3, maybe before E3. We don't know what Nintendo does, but maybe one of the last big releases for the Wii U. So
yeah, Wii U is dead.
Yeah, pretty much. There was actually a rumor, and I didn't put this in the notes, but obviously not confirmed, but it seems like they are working on Zelda for the Wii U and Zelda for the NX, much like they did the GameCube and the Wii.
Yeah, I've been assuming that for a while, but which means anybody could have made that rumor up, but it makes sense at this point. It worked for them before, so we'll see.
Yep. So and Nintendo has said that the Wii U. There are some rumors that the Wii U was going to be shut down as far as manufacturing more. Excuse me. But Nintendo shut that down as far as the manufacturer, which they may shut it down soon. But as of right now, they're still manufacturing them.
Mm-hmm.
Comic books. Looking at there's some pretty good releases this week as far as volumes and hardcovers and trade paperbacks. Aliens 30th Anniversary hardcover by Dark Horse, which collects the original Aliens Dark Horse series. You've got Elseworlds Batman Volume 1 for DC Comics, which I think we can all agree that Batman Elseworlds are pretty cool. They tend to be some of the more classic DC kind of alternate storyline stuff. We've got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 1 of the IDW series, which covers issues 1 through 12. So if you're looking to kind of start that series, that's a good spot to go. In Marvel, we have Star Wars Vader Down, which is Vader's mini-series, which brings him... It's him versus the Rebellion, basically, which is pretty cool from what I understand. I think our buddy Josh Delp actually read it and was really liking it, so go check that out. Captain America Theater War, which is, I think, a bunch of one-shots for Captain America as far as origin stories and some of the old war tales, I believe, from Marvel. And then you get a lot of Marvel as far as releases from the Secret Wars reboots. You've got Captain America, Sam Wilson Volume 1. You've got all new, all different Avengers Volume 1. You've got the new Avengers Volume 1. So all that's from the revamp from Secret Wars. And then a neat one I thought was Marvel First, the 1990s, which chronicles obviously the first appearances of some characters that debuted in the 1990s. So go check all those out. We've been kind of skimpy on comic books, so it's a good starting point for the Marvel stuff. And then there's some pretty cool stuff like the Batman Elseworlds and the Marvel First. Anything in there catches your guys' eye before we kind of move on?
Do you know anybody that's going to be in that comic that covers the 90s?
From what I saw on the cover of it, it was Darkhawk. Was it Darkhawk? Yeah. Domino was on there. Ghost Rider was on there. Or the '90s version of Ghost Rider, I should say. And I'm guessing, I'm guessing characters like Night Thrasher would probably be on there. Maybe a lot of the X-Men stuff. So at some point, Deadpool will probably be in there as far as the first appearances. Cable was early '90s, I believe. Cable was in there. So there's a lot. Marvel did a lot of character stuff. As far as the '90s, as far as debuting a lot of people. So especially just on the X-Men alone, they debuted a ton of people in the '90s. So. So go check that out. That's who I saw on the cover. It didn't really go into too much other than that, but the '90s staples there.
The IDW Turtle stuff. I've only heard really great things about it. I think all the issues, as far as reviews that I've seen, have been scoring in the 8s and 9s, stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting. And putting 12 issues together. That's a pretty big book right there.
Yeah, that's a pretty big, and that's something I've been trying to get into, and maybe I may take the plunge with that if I can find a little bit extra money here. But yeah, that's something, and that's the one written by Eastman. A lot of that's written by Eastman. Him kind of picking up from his original stuff. So, but yeah, go check that out. Same with Jared there. I've heard some really really good things. He's done some pretty cool things. A little bit more grittier than what you see on like the cartoon or anything like that. So. Should be pretty cool. All right, let's move on to some of our big news this week, and of course, the biggest thing in movies has been more, I guess, movie news than usual at this point. But Doctor Strange trailer was released. I think Jimmy Kimmel had like a Marvel week, and that was one of the first things that they did was a Doctor Strange trailer release. Let me say this, and I think Andrew will appreciate this comment. That's how a trailer's supposed to be done. Doesn't give a ton away. I mean, it's not very long. It doesn't give a ton away. No big time, scenes. Plays a little bit with the origin story, just a little bit. You get a little bit of a scene with him with his cape on from the, him kind of turning around, the cape kind of swishing in the wind or whatever. But I thought that was a perfect way to cut the trailer, Andrew, and I figured you'd appreciate that.
Yeah. It leaves me thinking, okay, this guy looks cool because I don't know much at all about Doctor Strange. I walked away thinking, okay, that looks cool. I'm interested in that. I didn't see everything there is to see that's going to be, every cool shot or every cool fight or every cool whatever. Like, there's just enough there for me to think, yeah, I want to see that, which I wanted to anyway. But
right, the Marvel,
a little extra, yeah.
Joe, you're a resident big Doctor Strange fan. You've read you're in the process of reading some of Steve Ditko's original stuff in the '70s, late '60s, early '70s, I believe. What do you think about the trailer? I think you're the first person that I texted about it. Was because I knew you were super excited about it. You think Cumberbatch is going to pull it off? And what did you think about the overall tone of the preview?
I love the trailer. I think it set just the right tone. Kind of set the expectation for everybody, I think. Kind of filled in some gaps because a lot of people don't know who Doctor Strange is or how he came about. I think the trailer touched on that just enough for people's interest to get kind of piqued for it.
And for people who know Doctor Strange's origin, this isn't a spoiler because you can look it up on Wikipedia if you want. But basically, Doctor Strange was a great surgeon. Was world renowned for his ability as a surgeon. ends up getting in some kind of car wreck or something. There's something in the comics where he comes off Stephen Strange, which is obviously Doctor Strange is his real name. Basically comes off as a little bit of a jerk. I think he refuses to do surgery. I don't know if they'll do it this way in this one. But anyway, he refuses to do surgery. Kind of builds off this karma thing, and he gets in some kind of accident, and it ruins his hands. He travels to Tibet to either get healed from his hands, and ends up more or less being trained to be the Sorcerer Supreme in the Marvel Universe. And this is his tale about. And can I just say, Tilda Swinton, like she's going to play an awesome Ancient One. I think. I mean, just as someone, just like as far as who teaches Doctor Strange. And I won't say nothing else. But that's basically the rough origin of Doctor Strange. Jared, what did you think about the trailer? Me and Joe have all talked about Doctor Strange a lot, and how they can expand on this. What do you think bringing a character like Strange that can go to all these different places? How do you think it's going to open up the Marvel Universe?
It gives them a different dimension. I mean, look what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy in space. This is your very mystical dimension, and I think it came across really well. When they kind of went into his mind and was twisting things around, and just that overall look. I mean, it kind of had a look of like Inception. Some of those shots that were put into there. So it really kind of piqued my interest in it, even though I was already interested in it. But it got me really excited about it. Just to see how far they're going to take it and all their stuff they're going to do with him. And I like the way they set it up. They did talk about his hands and, that he couldn't do the stuff, surgery anymore. So they kind of covered his origin basically in the trailer. So, other than, showing maybe flashbacks or, maybe 15, 20 minutes maybe in his origin, I would like to see them just, go straight into the meat of the material instead of, they've not given an origin story for many people yet, so, why start now?
Yeah, I think they dealt with. I watched Ant-Man a couple months back, and I thought they dealt with an origin story for him really well. It just kind of alluded to what he did in like news clips. It was just mentioned by his friends and stuff like that. The thing with Doctor Strange is I do think he has to have a little bit more of a lengthier origin story. I think he can be a complicated character on how he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. You saw him being knocked back in astral plane a little bit by the Ancient One, played by Tilda Swinton. But yeah, I think it's a little bit lengthier. But the cool thing about his origin story is, I think it could be interesting. I don't. It's not your original. It's not your regular superhero origin, and because of the stuff he deals with. And I think that an origin story like that of a character that could go off in these spiritual realms or other kind of realms of the Marvel universe, and deal with the mystic part of that. I think that origin story could be very interesting. Joe, as far as origin story goes, do you think he needs more of a lengthier introduction, and how cool could that be? I think it could be Marvel's Inception, to be quite honest. I think it could really be kind of this more of a highbrow kind of Inception type story because of what Stephen Strange can do.
I think the main thing about his origin story that you have to really come across is that he was, I'm trying to think of a good word to put it, arrogant to a point. Well, he's very arrogant, because he was pretty much the best surgeon at what he done. And then, like you said, touched in the trailer, he gets in an accident, and, his hands, and he kind of becomes a whole different person. So I think you have to touch on that origin story to where you see the change that happens in him, not only as a person, but, I guess overall as a person.
And I think Cumberbatch plays that perfectly in this trailer. If you've ever seen Sherlock, I'm a big Sherlock fan. Obviously, we've waited 4 years for season 3 or whatever to come out. He plays that kind of.
Season 3 is out.
Or not on the next season. Which one's the next season? When it's supposed to come over here, season 4, right?
Season 4. They're filming right now.
That's it.
I was just saving you from the trolls, man. Just saving you from the trolls.
Thank you. Well, the thing about it is, it's so long. I don't know what season they stopped on, because it's been so long. But We love that show, one of our favorite shows, and I think probably a favorite here. But he plays that on Sherlock. He's this arrogant kind of, funny but arrogant. And I think Stephen Strange is a little bit different arrogant. I think he is the opposite of Tony Stark arrogant, which is kind of funny and bust on people. He's going to be more of the snobbish arrogance that, hey, I'm a surgeon, I'm world renowned. I'm not going to take a case if I don't want to. And even his quest to Tibet, or wherever they're going to, put the ancient one, is one of selfishness, because of the fact that he wants someone to heal his hands. He doesn't care about helping other people. He still wants just people to heal his hands, and he gets a lot more. Andrew, you said you're not very versed in Doctor Strange. What? I know it's just a Marvel movie, but what else in the trailer kind of brought you in as far as like, oh, this could be pretty good?
Definitely the Inception horns.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Any trailer that puts those in there, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm in. I'm just kidding, because if that was the case, then I would have seen every movie since Inception. No movie has strayed away from the Inception horn since then. I just rewatched it again while you were talking about comic book releases, because I don't really read comics, which I think I've made. Not that I have a problem with them, I just don't sit down to read very much anyway. But anyway, I don't know. I think he just someone mentioned the astral plane stuff, like that looked cool, and just kind of I guess the mystery of it, because they didn't tell a whole lot. And Jared mentioned that they kind of told his origin story already, which is good. In no uncertain terms anyway, they did. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what to expect, and so the most I can lean on is that it's a Marvel movie. And I read Infinity Gauntlet a long time ago. He's in that, right? Wasn't he? Isn't he cool in Infinity Gauntlet? Yeah, it's been a while, so apologies to people who are screaming their heads off at me while they listen to the podcast. But anyway, I do remember him being in that and being pretty cool. So that's the most I can really tell you.
Yeah, I mean, I think this could either, Kevin Feige talked about a little bit as, this last round of the movie ending Phase 3 and then doing something totally different with Phase 4. I think Doctor Strange could really be the jumping on point for that, because of what he can do. And like I said, it's a very Inception type movie because of the fact of what he can do. He can go into like the astral plane, he can go into all these different realms. He deals with the mystical portions of that. I think it'd be interesting to see where they kind of break it off. It's a character that can really open up the world a lot. So, go ahead, Joe.
If you really want to get the origin story of Doctor Strange, Marvel put out a great animated movie, and then Netflix had it for a while. That movie may be something you may want to watch.
Yeah, it was based on. I can't remember the name of it now. It was a mini-series he had in 2006 or 7.
There was a Strange mini-series, wasn't there? Wasn't that what it was called?
Well, there's some. Yeah, well, there's Strange, and there's another one as well that they put out. And I can't remember the name of it, but there's 2 of them. So yeah, go check those out and get you a little bit more of a grasp on the character.
I think I'm excited mostly just by osmosis. Like that, I've listened to enough people like you guys or like other podcasts that I listen to that are excited about Doctor Strange, excited about Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange, and so I think I've really just thought, okay, well, it's Marvel, which is good. People seem to like Doctor Strange, that's good. He was cool in Infinity Gauntlet, that's good. And so everyone that I talk to is excited about it. I might as well be too. I think that's where I'm landing now that I think about it.
Yeah, and that's the aim of the show. Hopefully, you get intrigued whether it's bad or good. We talk about intrigued about something. But yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think it's Marvel doesn't fail. Well, Marvel hasn't failed yet. So we'll see kind of how that goes. But speaking of comic book movies, hey, DC's back in the news, and Warner. And this time they're actually maybe giving us something that we talked about before coming out of Superman v Batman. Ben Affleck will direct and star in new Batman film. Something that we talked about, one of the best parts of that movie was Ben Affleck being Batman. I think it's hands down. I think he's one of the best Batmans that we've seen. A little bit different take because obviously an older Batman, but still right on with what that character is supposed to be. Um, Jared, we talked about this way before. We both thought that once all the internet stuff kind of calmed down, that Ben was going to be a really good Batman. How stoked are you for this? There's no release date. We don't know what the movie's going to be about. There's nothing that we know about right now. But it was kind of hinted around after Superman, Batman. Nobody really said anything. Now it's official. How stoked are you to have Ben being a solo Batman?
I think it may be, the perfect Batman movie. He's such a big fan, and I think rumor has it that he's actually writing as well. So, if he's doing that and being a fan for most of his life, I think Kevin Smith has confirmed that or said it multiple times. Then they are going in the right direction with that. Because you see Joss Whedon and Kevin Feige and the Mark Berlanti that is running Arrow and the Flash. You have these fans that are in charge of these properties now, and having him in charge of Batman, something that he's admired. He's not going to do anything to do it any harm. I think that can only lift it up. And look what he did with Argo and The Town, and everything he's wrote and directed has been outstanding. So I don't think he would do any less. And having him in such a big property, it might elevate it, bigger budget. He would just be able to do more, and it may be the definitive Batman movie. Because I know everybody who watched Batman v Superman, nobody said anything bad about Affleck. So I'm really looking forward to it.
What's the over/under that he talked Matt Damon into being Robin?
I don't think that's happening, but you never know. He'll make a cameo, as a kind of like a Stan Lee type cameo. That would be something to see.
At the very least, I like to see Kevin Smith as a Detective Bullock.
I bet he's jockeying to get in that movie since Affleck's right there.
Yeah. Andrew, what was your like I said, this has been hidden around, and Jared said that he possibly could be writing. I looked on some articles and couldn't find that they had said that perfect, but I thought I heard that he was supposed to write it as well. So Jared, you're probably right about that. We've talked about Superman v Batman a lot, so we won't talk about too much more of that movie. But talk about maybe your reaction to Ben Affleck as being Batman, and do you think he's going to work really well in that solo film?
I mean, Affleck was fine. I'm not familiar with what he's directed or written to know what that's going to be like. To me, it comes down to, is there going to be someone in the room or in meetings and in whatever that can tell him no, that can say, hey, you need to rethink this, that can redirect him when he inevitably gets something, has a bad idea that he thinks is a good idea. To me, that's what it comes down to. As long as there's someone who can steer him away from, because we all have bad ideas. It's no reflection on him. But we all have those bad ideas, and what's important is that there be someone in the room, someone who can say, hey, you really should probably not do this. This is a bad idea. This isn't going to work, whatever it is. I saw, I hate to bring him up again, but Dan Emmerich was talking this week about how George Lucas's wife played an integral role in the first Star Wars trilogy and helping George kind of flesh that out, I guess. And then she wasn't around for the next trilogy, and he wondered on Twitter. He was saying, I just wonder how much she could have kept him from making all the mistakes that he made in the prequel trilogy. It's hard to say. It's impossible to know. But to me, that's what it comes down to. If there's someone in the room that can say, hey, Ben, no, then it's fine. But do I think it's going to top The Dark Knight? No. I'm not expecting it to. I said it last week. I'll say it again. I have no faith in DC movies right now. So I'm not going to go in expecting to hate it because, like
Right.
Jared said, he's been a big fan. He gets the character, and that's all. That's important. That plays a role. But to me, he needs someone that can tell him no before I'm going to let the hype train take over.
Now, on the reverse of that, and maybe Jared, you can comment on this because you made a good point last week about the suits, the executives. This has been Affleck. He has credibility. He's made some great movies. He won Oscars. For his directing ability, his acting ability's gotten a lot better. You can tell, and it's almost like he does better with his own scripts because he writes it for himself as far as how the character would act. Maybe plays towards his strengths a little bit more, especially in the last couple of things he's done. Do you think that having someone like Ben Affleck, who has done, award-winning films, and let's just be quite honest, WB is used to award-winning films. As far as that goes, that's one of the things that always tripped up them doing. They wanted, Nolan's Batman to be this Academy Award thing. They kind of, whether they say it or not, that Superman v Batman, they want it to be stylized and art wise, and I've said this before. They got kind of confused whether they wanted that to be an art house film or a pure action film, and it didn't work on either end of that. Do you think having Affleck and what he does and his credibility, do you think that the suits will kind of leave him alone a little bit and be like, hey, this isn't Zack Snyder, this isn't so and so? Do you think that can play in his favor? And even though Andrew makes a good point about you got to tell somebody no, he is a fan of the character, so I trust him to make a film. And do you think the executives will back off of that?
I don't know if everything he's done when it starts to come out, I think everybody always questions it. I was trying to think back. When The Town came out, it was kind of under the radar, and then it kind of blew up. How great he was in the movie and directing. And it's kind of the same thing with Argo, because he did so many bad movies for so long, that I don't think most people expected as much out of him. And this could go the wrong way. Everybody could put so much pressure on him, because of all the awards he's won, Best Director awards, awards for being writer, I don't.
And I think that's does that bring more weight? I mean, do the executives looking back, hey, this guy can make a good movie? Zach, we've all agreed if you throw a comic book in front of Zack Snyder and be like, go do that, he can do it. But obviously, a lot of the issues we've had with him with the other movies is he doesn't have a comic book in front of him, and it's kind of exposed him as trying. The pacing's weird, the cutting's weird. Then you got the executives over top of him. Do you think Ben's like, hey man, just leave me alone, let me make this film? Do you think it brings a little bit more clout?
Yeah, in that aspect, he's never had source material to work from like this. He could go back and he could write an original script and just pull bits and pieces from all these different movies. What would kind of be great would be like something like The Long Halloween, where you could pull in all these. You have all these villains that are going to be in Suicide Squad. Why not bring those in for, like he goes after one by one by one, trying to figure out who this killer is. That kind of would be the perfect film for him. Maybe the biggest knock against him, not all of his movies have had a ton of action, which, not saying all the Batman movies have either. I was watching, I was listening to Fat Man on Batman, and Kevin Smith and Mark Bernardin were talking about the amount of time that Batman spent on the screen in all those films, and like when he would first show up, stuff like that. And like the original Batman movie with Michael Keaton, he had the most screen time, and as you went on, it got less and less and less. And even with like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises, it was kind of the same thing. Batman got less and less screen time. Batman didn't even show up till in The Dark Knight Rises till like 40 some minutes in the movie. So, but that might be Affleck's biggest knock because I think the town has like one chase scene in the middle of the movie, and then there's some action at the end of the movie. But he's not directed or done anything with such a high pace. The Long Halloween, did what?
He did Daredevil.
He didn't direct it though, or
I know.
write it.
Listen. One of the greatest action scenes ever was him and Elektra was fighting in that playground.
Oh, I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying that.
I'm totally joking about it. That's the most.
I haven't watched Daredevil in so long, but I'm just saying that he's not accustomed to jam packing a lot of action in there like we might want out of a Batman movie. But as far as pacing and character development, then I think he's probably one of the best choices for the job.
It was also brought up that he's going to be around, with the reshoots, he's going to be more in Suicide Squad. I saw that and somebody made a good point that he has a history with almost every one of those villains in Suicide Squad. So it's going to be interesting to see his part in that and if it bleeds into, and that's maybe what they're trying to do. They'll be like, hey, man, we could really platform this into just a regular Batman movie. It'll be interesting to see, but I'm super stoked for it, and I have more confidence in him than I do just about any other person to put on a good Batman movie. So
maybe they could do the Suicide Squad and then do like a prequel to the Suicide Squad with the Batman movie to lead into how all these people came together because he's the common link, something like that. But
even play off, and one of the things about Batman, and we'll jump off this before we get too philosophical about a guy a fake guy running around in Batman pajamas. But there's always this question: if Batman wasn't around, would these guys be around? And Suicide Squad would be very much one of those things where you could really explore that with that character and tie it in. So yeah, I totally agree. So let's move on from that. As far as that goes, I'm pretty stoked about it. I'll give it a whirl, see what like we talked about before. I think Batman was one of the best parts of that. I would love to saw more Affleck Batman in that film. Let's move on to some sports. We had a big sports day. We were originally going to talk about Daredevil Season 2. And the more that I remembered what went on in sports, I wanted to do just our regular podcast. We had a lot of stuff to discuss here. But Andrew, we'll start with you on this.
Wait, hey.
Yeah.
I'm back. And I've been listening to y'all. Y'all said Matt Damon was going to play Batman or Robin. What about Casey Affleck, guys? Gosh, come on.
We said what's the odds that Matt Damon is Robin?
None, because Casey's gonna get that role.
Do you think they'll do Robin at all? Do we want Robin?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. We know at least at this point Robin's dead, or at least one of the Robins are dead. We don't know which one, but we know the Joker has something to do with that. Anyway, let's talk about Kobe. Andrew, we'll start with you. You're the resident Laker fan. Kobe goes off. He shoots the ball 50 times. I think Bill Simmons says the first time somebody shot the ball 50 times, it's like 1963 or something crazy like that. Let me ask you, because this doesn't surprise me, and if Kobe was going to go out like this is exactly how he's going to go out. Was you surprised that he took 50 shots? Because that is I didn't expect him to take 50 shots, but he was jacking them up.
I didn't put a number on it, but no, I'm not surprised. That was kind of his MO throughout his career anyway. And now he's got his teammates saying, hey, don't pass. We're going to give you the ball and you're going to shoot. What I'm surprised is that he made as many as he did, even though he didn't make that many, and that they won. Those are the two things that surprised me the most. You always expect Kobe to shoot. Again, I didn't put a number on it, but it was interesting. I think it was Simmons that actually tweeted a link to some historical NBA stat site or whatever, and Kobe owned I didn't count it, but it had to be 8 of the top 10 games with most field goal attempts since 19-something year or whatever. Michael had number 2. Kobe was number 1. Then I think MJ had number 2, and then Kobe had the next 8. I don't know. It was pretty funny, but yeah, that's Kobe for you.
Yeah, he did kind of. I mean, Kobe's got a pretty good sense of humor. He's got that really dry kind of, Bill Belichick type humor. When he says that, and he even said, if you watch the after the game, he said, He said, I was finally told that it was okay for me to shoot the ball all the time and not pass it, that you guys have been harping on for years. It was a fun moment. You know, I'm a big Bill Simmons fan. He doesn't like Kobe Bryant very much. So he's kind of
not. He's a Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
But he was him and his buddy Joe House was talking about the game, and they were very critical of the moving screens that was happening during this game. Yeah, I think at one point they said that Joe House or Bill Simmons said, I really feel bad for what's it the kid from Butler that plays on Utah.
Hayward.
He said he was just beat up the whole game. Like he was getting hit with screens. There was one time where Julius Randle pretty much threw him to the ground. There was another time Kobe threw him to the ground, and nothing was called. So I didn't get to watch the game. I hate Comcast, so I refuse to pay for regular cable and ESPN as a premium channel. But I read a lot of the articles.
PlayStation View, man, come on.
Oh, we probably need to talk about that because it seems like a pretty good little deal there. But yeah, I was looking at Twitter during that time too. People was like, "Holy crap! How many moving screens can you do on a team?" But he kind of got, Kobe's very much the closest thing to Jordan will ever get as far as a pure scorer. As far as a mimicking that is close to Jordan. Jared, if there's any one guy that can get away with those calls, it's got to be Kobe, right?
Yeah, going out in his last game. You kind of feel bad for the Jazz though, because that game could have put them in the playoffs. So you hate it has to come down to that. But he's been around for 20 years. He's been, we were talking before the show, and through all the controversy and everything he's went through, he's been consistent there. When's the last time you've seen a player play 20 years for one team?
Right.
It hadn't happened in a while. Not somebody that has meant so much to one city. And I'm not a Lakers fan. I've never been a Kobe fan. But, you have to respect what he's done for the game. And before LeBron, there was a bunch of Laker fans. Everybody's wearing Kobe jerseys. He kind of elevated the game and brought something back that may have been missing there in the early 2000s. After Jordan had left he had left out, and there was kind of a void there for a few years. So he kind of brought back something special that's kind of elevated it where it's back to today.
Yeah. The NBA had an awful spell after Jordan.
Yep.
Split from the Bulls is really when that kind of initiated. But yeah, awful.
Remember when Michael Jordan went and played for the Wizards?
Nope.
That was a great decision.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what
nobody should remember that.
Yeah,
No.
I think that's what probably made Kobe's last game such a big deal, because I heard sportscasters saying, "Why do we even care? We don't remember Michael's last game. We don't remember anybody's last game." People think that they remember Derek Jeter's last game, but that was actually his last game in Yankee Stadium. He played on the road, I think, after that. But and Jeter's probably the closest comparison, because he played all those years with the Yankees, just like Kobe did with the Lakers. But to me, what made it different than Michael's last game or Magic's last game or any of those greats is that it was all those years with one team at home. This entire season has been about Kobe, it was a great way, by the way, for the Lakers to tank, hope to get Ben Simmons.
Exactly. Yeah.
And still sell out every single night. Courtside seats were going for $27,500
Jeez.
per seat, $27,500. But anyway, I think that's what made it a big deal. I watched the Warriors game instead, because the Warriors are a better team, and I felt like 73 wins was a bigger part of basketball history than Kobe Bryant's last game, and I was right. But it actually worked out pretty cool, because I got to watch the entirety of the Warriors game, even though it was never in doubt. And then I flipped over for the last two free throws that Kobe made to get to 60. And then, of course, they finished out the game after that. But that was pretty cool to kind of get the best of both parts of the game. I thought there.
Yeah, it's definitely a feel-good moment for a guy to go out like that. Let me, and Jared, or Andrew, you hit on something that I can't remember who I was listening to, but Joe, let me get your comment on this. Do you think that Kobe gets a pass a little bit? He talked about going through the tough years with the Lakers, and somebody brought up the fact that that was he pretty much ran Shaq. It was kind of his fault. He ran Shaq out of town. He wanted to be traded. I mean, that whole summer was Kobe was going to Chicago. Kobe was going to Phoenix. Kobe was going to wherever. Do you think we conveniently forget how not that Kobe almost kind of screwed the Lakers over a little bit?
Yes, we do. I've always respected Kobe as a player, but I've always been a Kobe hater. The years that he and Shaq played together, I liked the Lakers just because of Shaq. You can contest to that. We were both Orlando Magic fans when Penny and Shaq was there, but I think he gets away with a lot because that whole year where he was just whining around after he got rid of Shaq, wanting to be traded, and I don't know. I think he gets a pass. He's a great player, probably one of the greatest of all times, and I respect him for that. But he runs. I don't know. I don't know where I'm even going with this.
Well, I think the point of that I can't remember. I wish I could remember who he used to be with ESPN. He's with Fox now, and I can't.
Colin Cowherd.
Yeah, he was on Colin Cowherd, but
I was about to bring that up.
Yeah. He had it was whoever the guest was. This is who was saying it. And he pretty much said people look at Kobe. He goes, yeah, it's a great moment. I'm not going to take anything away from him. He scored 60 points in his last game. It's a great moment. But he's like, he just feels like Kobe got a pass because when they was facing Phoenix, yeah, Jason Whitlock. That's who it is.
Jason Whitlock, yeah.
Do you think that's the case? I mean, he brings up a lot of good points that we kind of gloss over and just remember Kobe winning 5 championships and not pushing Shaq out, not demanding a trade.
Not being able to win without having another superstar.
Yeah, at least
okay. Nobody name one player who has. But anyway, I agree with some of that. He does get a pass. If you've listened to Colin Cowherd over the last 3 years, then you know that he doesn't get a pass from everyone. He made the buses pay him a max contract, even though he was not near worth it anymore, and which was stupid of the buses. They should have just said, okay, get on the bus, get out of here. I don't care, but they didn't. But anyway, I thought Whitlock came down a little too hard. He was calling. I think the line that was tweeted the most.
Right, he not call him a fraud or something like that.
Yeah, that was the line. He's the biggest fraud, celebrity fraud or whatever. I'm like, hold up. He did win 5 championships. Yeah, he needed Pat. Yeah, he needed Shaq, but Michael needed Scotty, and Michael needed. I mean, that's a stupid argument. There's no other way to say it. It's a stupid argument. It has no basis in reality. Well, I shouldn't say no basis in reality. It's true for every other star. So, and it was interesting that he said that because the day before on Colin's show, when Colin was still on, they had a guy who called in and made that exact argument. He didn't win without Shaq, and he didn't win without Powell, and he's the luckiest guy in sports was the argument that guy was making. And Cowherd hung up on him and said, hold on, you're falling into a trap, and that trap is that this guy has been great for 20 years. He's had 20 years of mostly greatness. He's scored ever how many points? I think he's the highest scoring Laker ever, right? He scored more points than any other Laker.
Yeah, I believe so.
He has won 5 championships. He played an important role on all 5 of those championship teams. Do not mistake that for luck. You don't be lucky for 20 years. Nobody, including Steve Kerr, although he's the luckiest NBA player ever.
Exactly.
Or NBA person ever at this point. But don't mistake greatness for luck. You don't be lucky for 20 years. And so calling him a fraud was too far and naive or just sensationalist. I don't know, but
Bill Simmons basically called him the best liar in sports.
Okay, that might be true.
That might be true.
I don't want to come across as a Kobe defender because he does deserve criticism,
Well, as someone that we've talked about this on me and Andrew's on Spirit Sports and Sarcasm, another podcast with our friends from church, and I'm all for superstars playing together. I don't know why people are very down on it. I think as far as what Kobe, people forget, he was trolling away in the 8th seed, and Phoenix was whipping them for like 3 years in a row. I mean, it wasn't even a series for those 2 or 3 years that they faced them. But you got to give credit to Kobe for figuring out I can't do this by myself. I mean, I just can't. I just can't do it. And then the Lakers going out and getting Pau Gasol, which might be the biggest steal, trade.
Yeah.
Get more championships out of it. At least at some point, instead of trolling, instead of being 5 years without a championship because he thinks he can do it himself, he kind of went to the front office like, I need some help, and they went and got him a really good help. So I think. Yes, he's egotistical. Yes, he may be the best liar in sports. You may not like him. You got to respect him what he does on the court. But I don't think he gets enough credit for being like, hey, I need a big man. I need somebody to help me out. And going out and doing that and telling the front office of demanding a trade, I need some help.
Yeah.
The thing that bothers me about it is you had Kobe do what he done, with asking for help and everything. And then, but the people troll on LeBron for going and getting help.
I think the difference there is that he left Cleveland. I don't blame LeBron for leaving Cleveland. I would have left Cleveland too. I don't blame it at all. Go play with your friends. Go play for championships. That's what this is all about. There's so many oxymorons about, well, LeBron can't win championship and he leaves to go win a championship, and they all, but we can't. You got to win it one team. Not necessarily. That's not for everybody.
Yeah, no.
And I think that's just like the Kobe can't win without an all-star. I kind of agree with Andrew that argument. I used to have that argument in high school. You couldn't win without Shaq. Well, obviously you can't. Nobody can win without Shaq. Dwayne Wade wouldn't have won his first championship without Shaq.
Shaq in his prime, Shaq's
a
team was going to win. Yeah, Shaq's team was going to win.
Exactly. That was Shaq's team. That wasn't Kobe's.
Sure, but Kobe still played a role.
And as far as the decision that the Lakers made, if you've got a 24-year-old Kobe Bryant, you've got which I think by that point I think Shaq was 30, 31, something like that when he went to Miami. I mean, I think they made the right decision. It was just messy. You know what I mean? Yeah. It is what it is. And I think Kobe did kind of run Shaq off as far as, I've read some stuff about, trades that was on the board if they kept Shaq or if, Kobe not wanting to play with Shaq. They pretty much hate each other. It's a fascinating story between those Lakers teams. Fascinating.
It's interesting now too, because you got players coming out now and saying, "Oh, there was no strife in the locker room," and blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, right. You're romanticizing the past because it's Kobe's last year, and you're trying to make it better than it was, and your mind allows you to do that. That's a whole other, that's way in a different subject that we don't want to get into. But your mind is tricking you into remembering things differently than they actually were. He ran him off. Let's not. I mean, those stories don't come out if they're not true back then. You can't change your story now.
Yep. And you got to think, again, we don't give Kobe enough credit for. I mean, when they hired Phil Jackson said some pretty bad things about Kobe as far as personally in his book. I mean, he called him a brat. He pretty much kind of put him on notice there. Kobe could have easily been like, I don't want to work with him again. But guess what? He knew Phil Jackson was just as great, sitting on the bench as he was on the court. And I think he should get more credit. And even though he's super egotistical, when it comes to championships, there's a lot of times Kobe set his ego aside for the ring. And I think he deserves a little bit more credit for that. I'm kind of indifferent about Kobe. He's a great player. Loved him. He does some pretty amazing things on the court. I've never been really a Lakers fan. I was glad. I was glad Shaq got a ring when he first when they beat Indiana the first time. Other than that, I couldn't care less.
If you go back to ring number 5 against Boston, Game 7, Kobe was terrible.
Oh, everybody was terrible. That may be the worst.
Yeah, both teams, it was terrible. But yeah, don't just. He wasn't Michael great at all, and he definitely had his struggles. So. I'm not giving him a pass, so I guess I'm fishing for something to criticize him for, because I have been defending him here. But no, he shouldn't have taken a max contract. He has been bad in big spots sometimes. He opened the game Wednesday, 0 for 5 from the field. Yep. Nerves got to him once in a while.
Yep.
But he was also a great player.
Yeah, he was. There's no denying that.
But let's just say this: he went out of the league being Kobe. The Black Mamba struck, and like Jared said, the Jazz needed that win to get in the playoffs, and Kobe struck. The Black Mamba, the villain, struck again.
I can't believe they won that game. That's the biggest surprise to me.
Do you think he would have scored at least 50, maybe, or even won the game? I know Gobert was out. They had another starter that was out. I think he would have had an easier time getting to the basket if Gobert was in. Obviously not, but
I didn't watch it, so I don't know how he scored
it.
it.
It was pretty depleted, right, Jared? From what I understand, they had a ton of injuries heading into that game.
I actually don't know. I didn't watch it either.
I know Will was out. They had one other guy that was out, I think, and they pretty much, because Bill Simmons was like, he was like, coming into the game you have to win. He said that's the last lineup you want to put out in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they didn't have the punch to do anything.
I just turned it over on Yahoo the next day, and I was like, holy crap, he scored 60. And then I was like, who won the game? Because I knew the Jazz needed that to get into the playoffs. So
I was really hoping he'd score 100, maybe 101. Like, that was my hope.
Yeah. What the
Yeah.
heck?
I mean, like I said, I'm not the biggest Kobe fan. I respect him, what he done for the game. But I kind of wanted him to see him go out with like a 100-point game.
We'll talk about 100-point game in a couple months. I don't want to spoil anything, but we'll talk about a 100-point game in a couple months. Yeah.
We can discuss that off mic here. Another thing for the Lakers that I think is good is that Kobe's gone. Now they can build a team. Nobody wanted to play with Kobe. They can rebuild. They can really rebuild. Maybe get some free agents to come.
Get rid of Ron Artest. Get rid of Nick Young. And build a freaking team because they're terrible right now.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible. It's going to be interesting in the offseason with LA, especially with the salary cap. It's going to be interesting all across the NBA.
Bring on KD.
DeMar DeRozan, man.
Yeah, there's
I don't think Durant's coming, but DeMar DeRozan is very attainable, I think.
I think Durant's going to sign a one-year deal and wait for it to go up again, and then we'll see Durant consider his options. So
I think if he leaves Oklahoma, he's going back home to Washington.
Nah.
Washington's terrible.
Why would he go from one ball hog point guard to another one?
That's true. I'd rather play with Westbrook than Wall. I like Wall. But
gosh, yeah. I would rather play with Westbrook, but they're both ball hogs. So.
Well, let's just say this. Westbrook wasn't really a point guard. He was a shooting guard coming out of college.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they asked him to do a lot, which I think he's probably the best player on that team myself. But
I think if Steph Curry didn't have the season he did, I think Russell Westbrook was the MVP, hands down. That guy, stat-wise, is just absolutely amazing. But we'll talk about Russell Westbrook. Everybody talks about Russell Westbrook. Let's move on to some NFL news, and then we'll.
Hey, wait. So there's a Vine going around right now, and I just wanted to poke fun at it because it's funny. LeBron against the Pistons today drove into the middle, split two defenders, and then passed to a wide-open Kyrie for a three. Very Warriors. He passed a wide-open layup for a three. And he passes it, and then he runs straight to the other side of the court, puts his hand up in the air like, oh, yeah, that's going in. And Kyrie missed it.
Of course Kyrie missed it. Of course Kyrie missed it.
But it was just very funny. It was very, Steph shooting, turning before the three goes in, and it goes in, and people are like, holy crap, that's awesome. But LeBron wishes he was on the Warriors.
LeBron does wish he's Kyrie either. It'll be. We're not going to talk about that now, but it's going to be interesting also.
LeBron is leaving the Cleveland again. That's what I think. But anyway, yeah, NFL news. NFL news.
But it's going to be a roster turnover if this doesn't work out. Anyway.
NFL news.
Yep. Big trade in the NFL. We don't see this happen very often, especially. We've seen this happen with the Saints as far as giving up a bunch of draft picks for one pick. We saw it with the Redskins giving up a bunch of draft picks for one pick. But it's been a while since we've seen this with the first overall pick. Let me pull up my link here so I can actually see what was all done up here. So basically, the Tennessee Titans, who had the number one overall pick for ever up until last week, they traded to the LA Rams in a ridiculous amount of picks. Basically, they're going to have 6 of the top 150 picks, I believe, or the 6 out of the top 100 picks. So basically, how it breaks down is Tennessee sent obviously with their 15th pick, it's a fourth or Tennessee sent a fourth and a sixth, which is 113 and 177 overall, along with their number one pick. And then the Titans decided to just get rid, just basically rob them of everything. They get the 15th pick first overall round. They get 2 second-round selections in this year's numbers 43 and 45. and then they get a third round pick, number 76. This goes along with their own second round pick that they have, and then but they basically recoup a and another third round pick. So I got two picks in both of those rounds, which is number 76 in the third round. Then they get the first and third round picks next year from the Rams. First of all, and this is the first time anybody's heard this, if you kept up with the story, how weird is it that LA gets fleeced when they fleece the Redskins? Like, this is almost the exact same trade, to be quite honest, except they get the number one pick instead of getting the second or fourth pick. Second pick that they got with RG3. Jared, when you first heard this trade, obviously maybe the Rams are looking to get a quarterback. I think this is the only reason you trade. If you don't trade up to get an offensive tackle at number one. Jared, what was your reaction when you heard this trade? I'm sure it's the same reaction everybody else did. Do you think that the Titans just pretty much got away with grand theft larceny there? I mean, it's crazy.
When I first heard it, I had to read it about 3 times just to make sure I was reading it right, because I was like, how stupid can you be? But then the more I've talked about it and sat around and thought about it, it is smart on the Rams' part, because they did get all those picks from Washington. They were able to load up a very young roster, which they were competitive last year with a horrible quarterback. So, they've got Gurley, they've got some decent wide receivers. Their defense is solid, even though, they did lose a couple people in free agency. All they need is the quarterback. Why not just go out and get him?
Robert Mays made a good point about. I was listening to the. If you're not listening to Channel 33, which is Bill Simmons, he has a Bill Simmons podcast, and he has Channel 33, which is all of his staff at his podcast. Robert Mays was on, and he was talking about. He said, I can't argue with the Rams because they really need a quarterback. And he said if Goff or Wentz is their guy, then they made the right deal. And he said we can all agree that the Rams have been terrible at quarterback. He goes, yes, they got a ton of holes. Yes, it looks like they've got. Fleece. He said the Titans definitely didn't lose this trade, but he's like, if you're the Rams, you need a quarterback, and if you feel like Goff or Wentz is the guy, you made the good deal. You're going up to get the guy that's on the board. Joe, what do you think about the trade overall? What was your reaction when you first saw it?
I think it's smart. One, you're moving into a new city. You've got to get the people something to get excited for. Having the number one pick does that. And then second of all, Jeff Fisher kind of gave himself a couple more years because
a couple more years of being 500, baby.
Well, not only that, but he kind of keeps that job because you're not going to fire Jeff Fisher if the young quarterback's not performing,
Tennessee did.
That's true too. Andrew, what do you think about overall, like your reaction? Joe made a good point about LA trying to get,
Yes, that's the only redeeming quality that I can see in this for the Rams is that you might get a hype pick out of this. But I don't think either of these guys are going to generate that kind of buzz, especially in LA. Like, I don't think LA cares that the Rams are coming in the first place. I don't think this is going to tip the scales in their favor. Bill Barnwell tweeted a picture from somebody, I don't know, some site that used the draft pick value chart that Jimmy Johnson came up with back in the day, and people have refined it over the years, and the Titans basically gained 170% in draft value out of this trade, which is insane. It's an insane number. They could very conceivably get 6 starters from the 6 picks that they're getting from the Rams, and they're only giving up 3 spots. But first 3 rounds, you should be able to get 4 starters anyway. If you plan to, if you whiff on a couple of the guys, you should be able to get 4 starters anyway. To me, what's most surprising with this whole trade is that the Rams, like I think Aaron, you said it, just did this with Washington or maybe it was Jared, and loaded up with guys, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it was Jared. That they just did this with Washington and loaded up on picks, and now they've got a solid roster. And then they turn around knowing that that's been part of their success, and they give up that many picks for the same thing. Seeing that RG3, who was probably more talented than either Goff or Wentz, has already washed out where he was drafted. Maybe he'll work out for the Browns. I sincerely doubt it. But seeing how poorly that trade went for Washington. I don't, and being so closely tied to it as the Rams were, I don't see how you do it, and they did it. It's surprising.
Well,
They,
go ahead, Joe.
they're doing it because they're on draft Goff, or however you say his name, because he's a California kid, played his ball in L.A. That's the one way that they're not put butts in the seats, is seeing a local kid come in and play quarterback.
Well,
Yeah, but LA people don't care about Cal. I just don't think they care.
Maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, I think that everybody's starting. Well, I mean, most people have known it for years, but you look around the NFL and you cannot win without a quality quarterback.
That's
The
look
Broncos
at.
just did.
Well, I mean, you still had a game manager that could make good decisions.
Yeah,
look
I
what
know.
happened without. You look what happened without Tony Romo.
Right.
I mean,
I do agree. I'm just kidding.
You McFadden run the ball for 1,200 yards, which he hadn't done since I can't remember what he did it one year with the Raiders. But you had Gurley, but they couldn't do it without a quarterback. There's been a couple other teams.
They made the playoffs, but I mean, obviously, maybe Bridgewater isn't the guy that they thought he would because they didn't throw the ball very often.
Right. I mean, but to take you to that next level, you have to have a quarterback that is the game changer. So I don't know if Wentz or Goff is the answer, but they're taking a chance on it because they didn't want to, sitting back at number 15, neither one of those was going to fall to them. So, they were like, well, let's go for it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. You do need a quarterback in general. The Broncos were, a once-in-a-decade defense, and that's why they won. So I was picking the outlier on purpose just to take a jab. But
Third apart, like you talking about Ninja Turtles last week.
Exactly, except that movie isn't as good as Winter Soldier. Anyway, you do need a quarterback. Absolutely. I don't disagree. I just don't think that these guys, either one of them, as big of a question mark as they are, is worth the king's ransom you paid for it. I think you do something else. I don't know what you do, but you don't do that. Well, you can stock up on more defenders and stock up and build yourself a once-in-a-decade defense and try to win that way.
Well, we've shown even against a great quarterback, if you can build a defense that's good or verging on great, that you can win a Super Bowl. Seattle never did it. The Ravens did it back in 2000. So I mean, I agree with you, Andrew. There's a lot of ways to build this up, and I'm with you. I've watched Goff play. I wasn't very impressed with him. I obviously nobody. I didn't know who Carson Wentz was, to be quite honest, because he just kind of came out of nowhere, kind of like Flacco did when he played in Delaware. And then you look at someone like Paxton Lynch. I've seen him play. That guy can sling it. So it's not like you can. It's just weird that 15. Why not trade back and get picks? Maybe pick up a Paxton Lynch that everybody really likes. I just don't understand. Both of those guys just don't. Either you want to get the kid from Wentz, who's going to be a project, or Goff's going to come in, he's going to start, and he's going to burn. Like I just don't see him as a day one starter. That's my issue. I just don't feel like there's a quarterback, just like you said, that you trade all that stuff to get up to. There's not a Peyton Manning. There's not an Aaron Rodgers. He's just not there. For quarterback, it's a pretty weak draft.
Mm-hmm. And we say that, but I bet there will be 4 that go in the first round.
Oh, most definitely. Well, we got the 2
Which is ridiculous. Lynch and Cook, probably.
Yep, all those guys. Here's a couple questions for you, and we'll kind of end on this. One, does the Rams do this? Robert Mays brought up a good point. If it was in St. Louis, would they pull this? That's one question. Second question is, as far as that second question just flew out of my head. Crap. I pulled an Andrew.
I'm good. That's why I'm laughing, because I'm good for that.
That's right. Let's talk about that. Do you think if they were in St. Louis, do you think they pull this deal?
Yes.
Do you? Okay. Jared, do you think they pull the deal if they're in St. Louis?
Yes, just because they have to, you have to have a quarterback, and there was no quality quarterbacks in free agency.
Joe, what do you think?
No.
No, you say they kind of keep going along?
They keep going along.
Okay. So here's the question. Do you think, obviously this is reverse analytics. So in one trade, we see the NFL moving towards analytics like they did in the NBA, gathering draft picks, gathering access, and really the NFL's always kind of been that way, build your team through the draft and all that stuff. But this is, you have the Tennessee Titans being like, hey, we'll just acquire a bunch of picks. In the same article that probably Andrew read with Bill Barnwell, he talks about the best way is to get more picks. He says you're going to get more options to hit. You're going to get more, possibly more starter options. Just gather picks and pick. The second thing is you think that obviously, the Rams obviously doesn't believe that in this trade. So you've got a trade that has no analytics versus a whole bunch of analytics, which was really weird. Kind of give you both sides of it. The other option is, or the other thing is, do you think LA, because of the move, do you think that they think that they can attract more free agents? Do you think they can bring in a top flight wide receiver? Do you think they can bring in more offensive, linemen to help with that terrible offensive line that they have? Do you think that because they're in LA, they're betting on, hey, as long as the Chargers don't move there, we're the only team in LA. People want to come play in LA because of the temperature and everything else. It's LA. Do you think they're betting on that they could maybe lure free agents to LA that they couldn't at St. Louis?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean,
go ahead, Joe.
I say just think about it before, the LA move that we're having. Look at the team that would sign big free agents that wasn't really paying out for them, but that was Miami.
That's true.
And I do believe that's because, one, the culture in Miami, two, I mean, the weather is always beautiful in Miami. You don't have to play in the cold. I mean, there might be a rainy game.
You don't have to pay income tax or sales tax or whatever other taxes you have to pay in Florida.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was a luxury move for people. It just didn't pay out for Miami. And you see the one that they signed last year, and their Dominican suits still not paying it out.
Right.
Yeah, your routinely successful NFL teams usually build through the draft, which is all the more reason not to make this trade.
Go ahead.
I was talking to somebody the other day about it, and I compared it to when Jimmy Johnson traded away Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker.
My dad still hates Jimmy Johnson.
I know, and I thought about that story, and I was like, but if you watch, I think there's a 10-minute short or 15 minutes or whatever ESPN put out. It's brilliant to listen to Jimmy Johnson talk about it, though, because, all they took the 5 players that they got from Minnesota, and, they cut every one of them so they could get the draft picks for them. And they turned those 5 draft picks into like 13 draft picks and built a Super Bowl team. So, Tennessee, I mean, its offensive line was struggling. They don't have a big wide receiver, which, I mean, they could get, it looks like Treadwell is going to be setting to them when it gets to number 15. But they can fill in a lot of those gaps now. And you could see this Tennessee team, with if they're smart and their GM drafts wisely, they could turn, that division, they could come out of this into a playoff team. Because Mariota wasn't bad last year. I mean, some games it was only him.
Yeah. Well, I think you look at it, and they were a competitive football team last year. Like, they didn't get blown out a lot. I mean, they were in a lot of games and because of Mariota. I mean, you look at what they can do, and, even Tennessee's GM was like, I'm not done trading. Like, if the right call comes in and they can scoot up even more because they've got enough picks, we're like, fine, we'll just give you next year's first round with a second and a third, and they'll move into the first round again and get another big-time player. So, it's going to be interesting. I think they're going to stay where they're at, but, it's going to be interesting to see. And now you look, Robert Mays was talking about, you got Mariota, you've got DeMarco Murray now. Now you have a chance, just like Andrew said, that you hit on 3 or 4 of these. You don't have to hit them all, but 3 or 4 guys that can turn into quality stars or even superstar guys, that team turns around really, really quick. I mean, that's something that the Rams, when they made that deal with RG3, they didn't turn around as quick. They were competitive, but they didn't get, obviously no quarterback, like Jared said, is a big deal. But you got a chance. You got a quarterback, a running back. You got a chance to really turn that team around in a year or two. I mean, just like that. I mean, you've got quality players, and you're paying them rookie contracts.
I think you'll see, like Jared said, get Treadwell, and then I think you see him get about 3 linemen with these picks.
Yeah, it's such a deep draft for defensive linemen anyway. Like,
I'm talking offensive lineman.
well, both though. Like,
Mhm.
you can build on both in this draft. It's a big man heavy draft.
You know, the
Dynamic
more
pass rushers, so
the more interesting thing that may come out of this though is what does San Francisco do now? Do they give up a ransom for that number 2 pick because they were expecting one of those quarterbacks to be there at 7?
it looks like Kaepernick is probably going to be on that roster.
Yeah, I mean, I know he is, but you know what is?
Well, I know they don't want him to. I mean, that's
Yeah, they. I know, but you know,
No, he don't want to.
yeah, he don't.
They're thinking they're going to be able to get a quarterback in this draft. And now, are you really going to reach with Lynch or Cook, or are they going to try to move up, or are they just going to try to drop back and stockpile a couple picks,
just say
pick up one later?
Yeah, at this point, if you're San Francisco, you take the best guy on the board.
Yeah, Chip Kelly won 10 games with Nick Foles and Mark Sanchez twice. Twice.
Yeah, I think
he can manage. I think he can manage.
Just a coach. I think Chip Kelly's great, but I think he got GM wise. I think he got a little bit mixed up. Anyway.
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been a great conversation. I'm sorry. It's going to be sports heavy. We had a big sports week, and in past weeks we really haven't had big sports week. So hopefully everybody got a little bit of everything that they enjoyed here. I want to give a big shout out to Kyle Jesse. The new logo you see on our YouTube page, the new logo you'll see when I get uploaded to the podcasting page on iTunes and on Spreaker. He's one of Andrew's friends. He's really talented with making pictures through like what he said. He used Lightroom and some of the other things. He made us a great logo, so big shout out to Kyle Jesse. He did it for free, and I really appreciate that. That logo is 100 times better than what I did. It looks great. It covers everything we do. The only thing that I said I wanted Mega Man in there instead of Spyro, and he put it on there and rearranged some things that looked even better. So a big shout out to Kyle, man. We really appreciate that. That logo is going to be put on pretty much everything now at this point. So we really appreciate you listening to the podcast, reading our stuff, and volunteering to do that. It means a lot to me personally to have somebody take time out of their day to do that for free for us. So really appreciate that. So yeah, that'll be it for episode 10. Don't forget to check out monstersofgeek.com. We got some great stuff coming your way this next week. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Monsters of Geek blog. We're under. Go like us there. Also like us on YouTube under Monsters of Geek blog, and then also on Twitter at Monsters of Geek. Kind of look at the podcast feed. We're going to try to do a Daredevil season 2 only episode. Also, with the draft coming up, we'll kind of discuss what we want to do about that as well. But yeah, go check us out. Andrew, Jared, Joey, got anything else you want to say?
I'm going to try to get us to do a Spirit, Sports, and Sarcasm episode this week, so keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, check out me and Andrew with our pastor Scott and Cody, and then Jesse, our friends from church. We do Spirit, Sports, and Sarcasm, where we talk about, talk about obviously, and then also sports, and we bust on each other. It's pretty good amount there. Go check us out. Joe, you got anything else to say?
I'm good.
Joe's good. We might want to end it there. Sorry, Joe. I'm afraid he'll come over.
Oh, Robin said you forgot her ad.
Oh yeah. Don't forget. Go check out Robin, Jared's wife, one of my best friends as well. She's done some stuff on the blog for what's the Walking Dead show that she
Fear of the Walking
Dead. She's done some stuff for us for that. Go check out her website. It's robincollinsphotography.com. Go check that out. She's also on Facebook under the same thing. She's very good. I've watched her grow as a photographer, and she's gotten better and better over the years. And some of the stuff she comes up with is really, really cool. So go check out her site. Go check out Drawing with the Delps for Josh Delp. Go check out Two Dudes Gaming and also Pop Culture. They're all on Facebook as well. Go check those guys out. All right, so that's done with the shout-outs. This has been episode 10 of Monsters of Geek Podcast. Until next week, go have a good week. Go have fun.